Get off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio, CNBC, and NBC Sports Station, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Podchaser, Tiki Live, Rumble, Audible, Amazon Music, and more. I am Dr. Marissa, your positive spin doctor, who is here to start your day in the most positive way. So I have guests and topics to that end. And we don't talk about just the problem, we also focus on the solution. And because of what has happened lately, with Buffalo and the tragic killing of so many beautiful people. And, once again, we're reeling from the level of hatred that seems to be going on in America. It was time to bring back one of my favorite people on the planet. She's my co-host. We did the series, It's Not Black or White, or Is It? So today is part 5. She's going to be helping me process all of this stuff. And you remember her, you see her on screen right now. Akuyoe Graham was born in Ghana. She's an actor, writer, and spiritual counselor, founder of the Spirit Awakening Foundation, an arts organization that mentors incarcerated children, at-risk foster and runaway youth. Akuyoe tours nationally with her critically acclaimed one-woman play, Spirit Awakening, and can be seen in numerous commercials, independent films, and television shows. She's the author of The Little Book of Transformation and the play Spirit Awakening. She's won several awards, the LA Women's Theater Festival, and I'm going to ask her more of those awards that she's won since the last time she was here. But please welcome to my studio, Akuyoe Graham. Good morning, Akuyoe.
Good morning, beautiful Dr. M. So wonderful to be here with you. Thank you.
Always. Now, before we get started on the topic of Buffalo, since I got promoted since the last time you were on, from a weekly show to the daily morning show every weekday morning, I like to start it with the gratitude sandwich, taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. Those of you who've read 8 Ways to Happiness from wherever you are, I'm grateful. The best-selling book, know that is an important Happy 88 tool. So instead of waking up with this and starting to scroll or getting caught in the media quicksand of tapping your phone and just getting caught in all this information that we don't necessarily need, I want you to focus on what's good in your life. So I have my guests play with me. Liz, welcome. Peyton, welcome. Liz is from Buffalo. Peyton's innocent. If you could, you can write in the chat or turn to the person beside you. If you're driving in the car, keep your eyes on the road. But if you could, play the gratitude game with me. So I'm going to start. Akuyoe's going to continue. And because we have so much to talk about, we're not doing 8, which is what I usually say, because I'm an overachiever, even though Dr. Dyer, beloved Dr. Wayne Dyer, said 5. 8's a lucky number in Chinese. It's good fortune. But today we'll just do 3. So I'm going to start with, I am grateful that Akuyoe is joining me again to calm me down. She has a very calming influence on me when I'm like, So I'm grateful for Akuyoe. What are you grateful for?
I am likewise grateful for you, Dr. M, and so grateful to be here with you today. Thank you.
Beautiful. I'm grateful that I have a hot shower that rinsed off
Yeah.
all of the sweat from my biking, stationary bike this morning. And I'm grateful that I have hot water.
And I am grateful to be alive, to be awake, aware, and alive. So grateful.
Beautiful. And I'm grateful that I am down 21.8 pounds since Valentine's because I wanted to love myself and, get to a place where I could love my body again. So that's my third.
And I am grateful that recently, on that same theme, I went to the Optimum Health Institute and did a cleanse. So, and the same reasons, I wanted to really strengthen my relationship with myself, my physical self, to honor that, as the temple of the living spirit. So grateful for that experience.
Isn't it great?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's interesting, just switching for 1 second about the whole idea of loving our body temple. And I never really got that until now, that it isn't so much about how I look, but how I feel. And I don't know if it's because of age, but I'm ageless. But it does really feel good to work my body,
And you look good. You look great.
So do you.
Thank you.
So do you. Your skin is very, yeah. All right, Mutual Admiration Society. So let's go to the topic at hand. Oh,
yeah.
I'm taking that breath. So, how did you first hear about it?
It's interesting. I heard about it the last day when I was in San Diego doing my cleanse, and it'd been a whole week of no news of any kind, and so as I was preparing to come back, packed and everything, I looked at my phone, and then I'm seeing these, messages from Twitter and Insta, and it's all coming up on the feed, and I thought, wait a minute, what? This must be an old mass shooting that happened. And lo and behold, it was not. It was a current mass shooting. And I, like everyone else, I just really could not believe what I was reading, that this person, it was premeditated, that they had thought about it, planned for it, got in their car with their gear. And I'm thinking, and all that while, from when they got in their car and drove to the store, nobody stopped them. There was no police somehow who saw this person in this gear. And then they got out of the car with the gun. And I'm still thinking, and no one, saw them to call the police and say, hey, maybe they're not going to do anything, but there's someone walking into the store with a gun and he's, all armored up and suited up and booted up. And I thought, wow, all that time he was able to do this and then go and do it. And of course, that policeman that tried to save lives, that really gets to me. After all those years on the police force, a very dangerous job, he gets shot at a shopping center. I mean, it's just the craziness of it, So that's how I found out on my news feed after a week of cleansing, not just my physical body, but my emotional body and my thoughts. So in many ways, I'm glad that I found out in that way, because I was pretty empty of a lot of stuff. So I was not reactionary. I was more responsive. And the minute I found out, I took a moment to pray for everyone involved, including the shooter. I took a moment to just pray, and to go within so I could be guided in my responses. I didn't want to add any more to the mayhem. I didn't want to react and add more to the violence. So I was really clear, and I still remain very clear about that my response be intentional, and that my response be from a space of wholeness, which doesn't mean I didn't get angry or that I'm not angry. It doesn't mean I wasn't even enraged or hurt or all of those feelings. I still have those feelings, and I had those feelings. I just didn't want to be a reactionary and add more to the boiling pot.
Absolutely. And, that's part of our discipline. I think both of us have, because we are so steeped, I believe, in our teacher, Michael Bernard Beckwith. I found this picture of the three of us I wanted to put up from a while back. Isn't that cute?
That is so cute. I know that was
So,
at Agape at Voices of the Unheard. So wonderful.
yeah. So I was also it's funny, when it first happened, I went, oh no, here we go again. That was my reaction of, George Floyd, and then all the ones before that who maybe, did not hit the news the way George Floyd did, but that this is just, again, another affront against African American, Black people, that once again, an example that racism is alive and well, unfortunately, in our country, that how could this happen again? Why is this happening? I knew enough not to, like you said, make things worse. And I think that's one of I went on the air, I think the next day, and just said, let's take a breath, and we'll do it again, because the power of our breath, chi, life force, I think people underestimate. So in the moment of silence that we do, if we engage the breath and then release the breath with, that intention of comfort and peace to anyone who has been negatively impacted, certainly the families of these individuals who had lives. And, someone pointed out the elders that were there. That's a whole generation of individuals who instead of, respecting and gaining wisdom from, we are in this space of mourning. And, I'm less mad now, but sad, obviously, because you can pray for that. I'm not where Akuyoe is still. I can't pray for him because I'm still mad at him. I'm mad at, but then I understand, if I step back, that it's not just him. It's we live in a country that has built up to this place where it's okay for him to do what he did, and okay for him to think what he thought. And there was a woman who, was very angry and righteously, indignant, and should have been, who brought up that point, what family influence, or what, school influence, or community influence does a person have that thinks that they can do that?
Yeah.
And for us to look at that. So
absolutely, again, the whole premeditation of it, that he planned this, he thought it out. What I keep thinking is, wow, all that time, again, as he was dressing up and going, wasn't there something in him that said, maybe this is not a good idea? That he was able to methodically just plan this and carry it out. And surprisingly, the police were able to apprehend him without any problem. And as many people have noted, Sandra Bland, was stopped. She ends up dead. George Floyd, it was $20. He had no weapons. He ends up dead. Trayvon Martin, just minding his business, eating a piece of candy, walking on his own street in his own neighborhood, ends up dead. But this person, booted and suited and strapped with guns and weaponry, is able to walk into a store, kill 10 people, and somehow the police are able to apprehend him peacefully. So, that's the piece as well that is, quite frankly, infuriating to me, that this person was apprehended peacefully. And that's, so we know the police are capable of doing that. So why don't they do it for everyone? For everyone, so that Black and brown people don't end up always dead because of a traffic stop, because they were jaywalking or because they looked funny or whatever it is. There are all the many reasons that they end up dead at the hands of police, and yet consistently, when a Caucasian person does something heinous like this, somehow magically they're able to apprehend them without a scratch. Dylan Roof, I hear they took him for a sandwich after he went into the church and killed all those people. He was hungry, so they took him out for a bite to eat. I mean, okay, if you want to have compassion for this monster, great. Have compassion for everyone else too. And so, oof.
Yeah. So now I'm hearing the side that is an important one to talk about. I want to take a quick break and come back and address the inequities that are just so blaring that you cannot not talk about them. And as we continue to lay the groundwork, this is a problem, but we, as I like to do, this isn't a political rhetoric, ranting, blame, shame kind of show. We're setting the stage to then move into what can we do. So, but we're not done with what is. So we'll come right back here on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA with my satellite sister, Akuyoe Graham, on the station that leaves no listener behind. We'll be right back. Oops.
Welcome to Balanced Tai Chi Gong. My name is Dr. Marissa Pei. For the next 28 minutes, we will be slow dancing with the universe in a moving meditation that promotes inner peace, one breath at a time. Just follow the sound of my voice and move with me as I guide you through this ancient wisdom through New Thought practice. As a corporate psychologist, I created this practice in response to my life and those of my clients. We were professional, high achievement-oriented, multitasking control freaks and exhausted. No matter how many successes, it was never enough. That, coupled with a painful life experience, led me on a quest to find another way to live and back to my Chinese roots. If you practice regularly, I can promise you that it will impact all health vortexes. Body, mind, spirit, soul. You will be in a place of balance and inner peace the way we were created. 谢谢.
Be my partner, dance with me, just hold on, I will.
Well, she has been dubbed the Asian Oprah, and she just wants all of us to be happy.
Dr. Marissa, aka the Asian Oprah, says the most important thing you can choose is choosing to be happy.
You are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa.
That's the idea for Dr. Marissa Pay's new book called 8 Ways to Be Happy.
Many of us say, I am my own worst critic. Nobody's harder on me than I am. And my response to that is, stop it! Why are you doing that to yourself? You have to be your biggest fan, because if you can't at the end of the day say, I did a good job, who is? We don't have to constantly be angry at the things that are wrong. Why don't we choose to be happy about things that are right? We have the choice. That's our muscle. And
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome back. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KZAA NBC News Radio, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, as well as my YouTube channel, where you can get all of my past 704 shows, but who's counting? Over the last 9 years, just celebrated that beautiful milestone. And you can get my interviews with Halle Berry, John Travolta, Quincy Jones, and more. And I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. I asked for my 9-year anniversary gift for my views to go past 250,000, and guess what? It is 251,000 something, and I'm so grateful for that. And you are tuned in today to a very special show. This is part 5 of a special series called It's Not Black and White, or Is It? And the co-host is my beloved satellite sister. And by the way, I call her satellite sister because one time our teacher, Michael Bernard Beckwith, my big brother, was talking about people at Agape who are sort of hovering around with our teaching and doing our thing, you know, in different dimensions or different places, like satellites up there. And so that's how that term was born. Just in case, I don't even know if I told you why I keep calling you satellite sister, but Akuyoe Graham, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, satellite sister. I love it, Dr. M.
Beautiful. And we're talking about Buffalo and what happened before the break. And I wanted just to also bring up Liz, who's tuned in today, who is also a beautiful member of Agape. She is actually from Buffalo. And she mentioned that, where was she when it happened? It was horrible. You know, nothing like this had happened in Buffalo before. She has a biracial son who lives very close to the grocery stores. That must have been horrifying. And she said her reaction was, I just prayed, tried to find him, and she found him safe. So, thank goodness, Liz, for that happening. Certainly. When tragedy happens for me, I reach out and tell people that I love, who maybe I don't talk to all the time, and make sure they know that I love them. That's also part of my discipline when tragedy strikes. But let's talk about that inequity. And as you know, I try to be careful when I'm talking to someone who is of a different race or of the race that I'm talking about, that I'm not asking you to talk on behalf of all Black women. But at the same time, you are a Black woman. Mm-hmm. So, I'm sure, as horrific as this hit me, that when tragedy strikes your race, of course, you're going to take it even more personally, just like Asian hate. There's one level of, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. And then it's like, that is that. So go ahead and speak to that.
Okay, I think we're still on. I certainly agree with what you said, Dr. M. When, it does feel personal, when something happens to any human being, a tragedy like this, um, it hurts. It's enraging. And then when you are of that race, it's doubly so, because this seems to be happening so many times, so often. Again, the Dylan Roof case, and all the names that we've listed, George Floyd, Breonna, Sandra, it just keeps happening again, again, and again. And, I just thought, wow, here we go again. And it just brought up so much, the history of the inequities in this country, the history of lynching in this country, the history of all the things that um, the Black race has had to endure in this country. And honestly, I just keep thinking, wow, we are such an extraordinary people. And I don't say that that we're better than someone else or less than someone else. I'm not comparing. I'm just pointing out what it takes to have endured all the things that we've had to endure in this country, and because when you're Black, there's no hiding place, meaning, there it is. It's not, a religion where people have to ask you, are you this or are you that? You're a Black person, you show up, you're Black, and so it makes us a target, and in many ways a very easy target, because there, wherever you go, there you are. And so I just thought to myself, what an extraordinary race to have endured so much that was legal. A lot of the hateful acts perpetrated against Black people were sanctioned. They were legal. Lynching was legal in this country until very recently, actually. All of these things were legalized. And so it just takes on there's so many levels to it that has to be dismantled, so many strands that must be literally cut down at the root, in order for us all to be able to move on, in order for us all as a country, as a humanity, to be able to move on. These legalized systemic roots of racism must be cut down, and they must be cut down.
Absolutely. Now, because of the blatant nature of the racism, and people say, well, we don't have slaves anymore, and I was not a slave owner, and this just is going to take time, and we're better than we used to be. How do you respond to that?
Well, yes, many people alive now were not slave owners, and maybe even their families were not slave owners. However, they have benefited from the systemic racist laws that were put in place to oppress and suppress, keep Black people down. Others benefited from those laws. So we're all in this together. It's all of a piece, because when, redlining, when Black people are denied mortgages, when we're denied loans or jobs, or to be able to live in certain areas, someone is benefiting from that. The non-Blacks benefit from those injustices. And so we are all of a piece. Now, this isn't about condemning one another or, hating on one another. It's just about saying, okay, making a choice. I no longer wish to benefit from the suppression of another. I do not wish to benefit from someone else's oppression. I don't want that in my life. And that's a decision one can make. And that's a choice we can make. And then we make that choice. We make that a declaration. That's very powerful, because it will influence the choices we make. It'll influence the people we vote for. It'll influence even what we shop for in our shopping centers, because you've made a declaration. I no longer wish to participate, to be a conscious participant in the oppression of another. And I do not wish to benefit from the oppression of another. That's a declaration. We can start right there. If everyone listening to this now and in the days and months and weeks to come makes that declaration, it'll start to permeate our society. It'll start to make a difference. Already, even the way the news of the Buffalo killings was covered was quite different from the way we used to cover them. We used to give so much attention to the shooter, and everyone knew their name and everything about them. And we paid little attention to the victims of their crimes. And we because of public outcry, we've come to realize we've matured, and we go, wait a minute, let's not glorify those people. That's what some of them want. Some of them do this so that they can be glorified. So let us not do that. Let's not play into their hands. We made a declaration that no, we no longer wish to participate in the glorification of individuals that commit heinous crimes. We are going to place our attention and our energy on their victims, just like you did at the top of the show. We're going to know their names. We're going to say their names. We're going to honor their lives. We're going to lift them even in their deaths, rather than putting all that attention and energy into the perpetrators of the crimes.
Yes, and I'm glad you noticed that. You noticed I have no pictures of him.
That's right.
I don't really care who he is, only that it was premeditated, only that there was inequality in the way even that he was apprehended. But the focus is on those beautiful individuals that have gone to the other side. And I do know where they are. They're in heaven with my dad, and all those that we have, we haven't lost them. They're just in a different place.
That's right.
And, yes, there's that feeling, for those of us left behind, that we don't have their physical, hugs and all of that. But, I know they're in a great place right now and loving us from there. But at the same time, how do we, so that declaration that you want us to, at this point, it's like the acknowledgement. If every person who was maybe not a slave owner now, but is from that a family, I used to think, the Rockefellers and all those big names of the blue blood, wow. And I no longer put them on any kind of pedestal because they made their money based on slavery. And the fact that we don't even acknowledge that is kind of, perpetrating the problem. So
Absolutely.
When we, talk about the founding fathers and the white race that was able to profit from slavery, that was able to profit, all of that. And as you can tell, there's a fire alarm going back. We're okay, but you take over here.
Okay. Again, you're absolutely right, Dr. M. It's in many ways, this moment is quite extraordinary, because it's like peeling back the layers of lies, peeling back the layers of untruths that we've all been fed, whether in our history books, in the classrooms. And as you said, we're looking at these people that we have all held in high esteem, the names of these, founding fathers and mothers of America, that, we were told were so amazing, and they made all this money, and, we've glorified them, come to find out, oh, well, sure, if I had a workforce that was enslaved, that I didn't have to pay, I'd have a lot of money too. If my overhead was that, all the profits came to me, I didn't have to worry about my workers at all. Well, sure. And if that's the way they made their money, is that someone that I want to glorify? Is that someone that I want to hold up in high esteem? Is that someone I want to emulate? With all due respect to them, and the answer is no, I don't want to emulate the way they lived, or the practices that were in place. Again, they benefited from legal, oppressive, suppressive laws designed to hold an entire race of people back, just as in the day, women were held back. Women were considered, properties of their husbands, and we needed men along with women to say, no, I do not want that. My sister, my auntie, my mother is not my property, and so again, going back to the idea of making a declaration, it starts with us individually, one-on-one, in our own thinking, in our minds, in our homes, to be aware. First comes awareness that there is a problem. If there's no awareness that there's a problem, then what do you do with that? There are some people who are in complete denial. They don't think there's anything wrong with the system. They don't think there's any systemic racism at hand, at play. I don't know what to say to those people. I'll pray that they wake up. However, the majority of people, I think, no matter how conservative you might be, I think the majority of people are aware that there's something amiss here. There's something rotten in Denmark, as Hamlet would say. And so let's first be aware. Let's own that and make our declarations, and then take action from that space. Take action from that space. So all those people who say, well, this has nothing to do with me, I never enslaved anyone. You didn't. However, you profit from it to this day. And so let's all work collectively together. As Liz wrote, one heart at a time. Let's work together. However, we have to be in concert. We have to be in alignment that there is a problem and that we want to respond to that problem.
Absolutely. And I think that is the first step, that awareness you're talking about, is if every person who is from the privileged class said, stop saying, I'm not a slave owner, started saying, I don't understand it, I can never empathize fully with it, but I acknowledge that this is unfair, that it was unfair, that it still is unfair, and that I am no longer going to say, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and, don't make excuses and don't go on welfare, don't do, all of those things that are the horrific responses that continues to contribute to the racism in our country, because we let people say things like that. We don't stand up and go, wait a minute, they took a white man who just shot someone and gave him a sandwich.
That's right. That's right, Dr. M. They took him and gave him a sandwich. This was Dylan Roof after he'd murdered all those people in the church, and again, they apprehended this person that killed all those people in the store in Buffalo. So again, as I said, we know that police are capable when they want to. When they see that it's a white person, immediately it's as if they just they're calm and they want to apprehend them in a peaceful way. Just the other day, I think it was here in California, they on the news, there was a video of firemen that were kicking and hitting I think a homeless guy and someone with, he's not completely in his right mind. And they say, he keeps bothering the firemen, but nevertheless, these are firemen, and the level of violence, he was on the floor, couldn't do anything. And there were 3 of them. They were kicking him and hitting him. And I thought, wow. And these are the firemen, so there's something that when they see black skin, immediately, they kind of just they go on full blast violence, whenever they see the black skin, that has to be addressed.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm just trying to talk when the fire alarm's not going.
Yes.
Thank you for being flexible on this. I had asked them not to do this, but I don't have as much pull as I think I do in the building. But I'm grateful that, we still have the ability to do technology. And speaking of which, I'm glad that we have the ability to film things now that are not okay. And I absolutely, I had a great point that I just lost, but it's so important for the majority to speak up and say, this is not right. It's one thing for, those affected to say, this is not right. But I think it's even more powerful if that is not your race to say this is not okay. So when there was Asian hate going on.
That's right. I agree, Dr. M. It is important. We're all in this together. There's one planet, one earth, one life that we all share, and we do share it. You know, this is it. We are it. We are the humanity that we're looking for, that we've been praying for. It's up to each one of us. And I totally agree that, if those that, especially in the quote unquote privileged classes, or those that absolutely benefit from the oppression and suppression of others, would just say no. This is not the kind of world I want to live in. I don't want to benefit from your oppression. That does not make me feel good. I don't want to sit at the table eating knowing that you're hungry. That does not make me feel good. And we need them to say no, we can't. This does not work. We need everyone, to speak up, and say, hey, how were you able to apprehend him so peacefully? And yet, George Floyd was killed. How does that happen? How were you able to? Right?
Totally unfair. Yeah, totally. The contrast is shocking. I didn't even think of that point. But that I remember what I was going to say is that one reaction, if I'm going to put the moose on the table, which is my Canadian version of talking about the elephant in the room, is that I will have many people say, well, they did the crime. They got to do the time. So they did do that, or they did kill, or they did steal, or they did all of that. So, credit or discredit where it's due. And if you haven't watched 13th, the documentary, please do. And then maybe you'll understand that it's not as simple as if you do the crime, do the time. It's never as simple as all of these reactions that are acceptable up to this point, because we didn't stand up and say anything, where people go, well, we wouldn't have this if people weren't, doing bad things. It's like, but you don't understand, the system is biased towards even who's doing what. Those studies that showed the likelihood of you being pulled over if you're this color versus that color, that there's just as many white people who are illegally distributing drugs, but they don't get pulled over.
That's right. And Dr. M, I love what you said, that you brought that up, people saying if you do the crime there, George Floyd, okay, let's say he did, steal $20 or have whatever he did. Does that deserve the death penalty? Because that's what he got. Sandra Bland, later on got the death penalty for being pulled over. They said she made an illegal turn. Is that cause for a death penalty? I don't think so. So if you're going to go that route, then let's go that route. These people did not deserve the death penalty. And the people that were killed in Buffalo, they were shopping. They didn't commit a crime. And yet the person that killed them, again, is able to get in his car, suited and booted with his rifle. The young man, the white young man who left one town and walked in the streets with a gun, no one stopped him. Now, you and I both know there is no Black person that's going to be able to do that. They would shoot and ask questions later. Oh, I thought he was going to do something to me. The things that, again, we have to be willing to be honest. We have to be willing to be honest and look at the biases that are so blatant. They're no longer hidden. It's out there blatantly. You can see, what's going on. What one group is able to get away with. And I'm not advocating for Black people to get away with something. What I'm advocating for is for honesty. I'm advocating for the same level of compassion and understanding that is meted out to our white brothers and sisters, to be meted out to our Black brothers and sisters, our Asian brothers and sisters, our Latino brothers and sisters, our Native American brothers and sisters. We want the same level of compassion and understanding that's meted out to those others, because there are no others, actually. There's only us. We are it. We are each our brother's keepers, whether we
Absolutely.
like it or not.
Absolutely. Yeah. Liz brings up a good point. You can read it down there.
Yes, Liz, I'm reading. Each person of privilege must say no to the oppression of others, one heart at a time. Each of us must change one heart at a time. Yes, and it begins with our own hearts. It certainly begins, with us, each of us, and yes, I agree, Liz. We must say no to the oppression of others. We have to. And it's going to take all of our voices to say no and to say we can do better. We can be better. We are better than this. Just in this, as all of us did stand up for George Floyd and say no, we're not going to take this. That was the only way those policemen were ever going to get convicted.
Yeah.
Was that all of us came together. Had we not, they would have walked away from that. I know it.
Yeah.
But it was just so blatant, and so many of us just saying no.
Yeah,
no.
all over the world. I mean, that was the most beautiful part of that. So we're coming up towards the end of the show. I want to make sure that we highlight what is it that we can do different to make a difference. In the building, please.
Well, I think we've been saying it all along, which is what's so beautiful about this conversation, Dr. M. Make a declaration. If again, I'm putting it out there to your listeners, to the viewers of this magnificent show. Take a moment and make a declaration in your own hearts, in your home, that you are you are an oppression-free zone in your home, in your heart, in your deliberations. When you see something and it's safe for you to say something, do say something. Do say something. We can write letters to our legislatures and demand that police be, trained better. I think we can all see they need better training, so that they are taught that when you see Black skin, that is not an excuse or a reason to take out your gun and kill whenever you see Black skin, because that's what I'm seeing. Every time Black skin is on the scene and police arrive, someone dies. And it's usually the Black person who dies, no matter what's going on, and let's say something when we see someone, on the streets armed. They may have a license for it. Okay, but maybe we need to raise the alarm and say, wait a minute, what's going on? This person just, yes.
Yeah. So the oppression, I am an oppression-free zone, which means that when people say something that is discriminatory around me, instead of keeping my mouth shut or laughing under my breath or trying not to because you don't want to confront them, is nicely say, for me, it's at first I don't make the joke. And then second, I don't laugh at the joke. And then third, I react to the joke and say, that wasn't nice. Or I'm glad I'm not Black, or that would not have been funny. Just because I'm not Black doesn't mean I will tolerate any kind of joking that goes around for that color of the skin. For all of us to say, this is not okay, is a start, because we haven't said it. We've allowed it to continue. And the only credit I give our last president is ripping off that Band-Aid. So the infection underneath, right? Calm waters above, sharks below. At least now we're aware of the extent. Capitol Hill, George Floyd, and now the Tops Buffalo tragedy. So we have enough now for all of us to stop allowing it. Are we allowing it with what we think, with what we say, with how we react, or how we don't react? We cannot just go, well, it's just going to take some time. No, you do. We're about to vote again. go look into the track record of those people. I was about to make a wonderful statement about Wahlberg and his performance in some movies. I love movies, and he's fabulous. And then I looked him up, and I went, oh my God, as late as 2016, he was still embroiled in hate, you know? And I'm like, well, then I'm not going to say, you know, he deserves to be nominated, because, you know, you got to take responsibility for what you're saying and doing. So in all places where we have power, which is voting, which is our attention, which is our focus, our friendship, where we spend our dollars, look at the corporation. You really want to support a man who now has been accused, and there's substantial evidence against him with the sexual harassment of one of the SpaceX employees? Do you really want to put him in that high esteem now? Do you really want him to take over Twitter so he can put that last president back on? Really? Like, so all of these things, we have to start saying something and then doing something with our power of money, where we spend, with our power of voice. You know, I'm grateful that I have a platform, but to do it in the kindest possible way. And I think this is one of the things that I'm grateful that I don't want to make things worse. And I'm glad you said that, Akuyoe, at the beginning, where, you know, we is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? If it's not all three, then keep your mouth shut. And that is an important point there. But we're about to run out of time. And one last, whatever it is you want to say, Akuyoe, the floor is yours.
I just want to say thank you for this conversation, you know, and that we kept it really, I think, from a very wholesome, peaceful place. And I just want to, again, you know, invite the listeners and the viewers to make that declaration to be an oppression-free zone in their hearts, in their homes, in their every deliberation, to the best of their abilities.
Beautiful. That's it. We're going to hold that as the truth for all of us. I'm hoping that all of you will meet Akuyoe's challenge. I am an oppression-free zone. That could be our new little song. I'm so grateful that you're all here. I just want to invite all of you. 2 things happening this week with me. On Friday night is a free Get Happy orientation, where you can come and talk about, are you 88% happy? And then I'm teaching balanced Tai Chi Go on Saturday at 10. May I have your... And now you can hear the alarm that's going on in my building. I do thank you all for being here. We'll see you tomorrow for another scintillating conversation on Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind. See you tomorrow.